In a vibrant Cambodian city where the river's murmurs blend with the hum of life, a grand museum of art stands as a beacon of culture. Its Khmer-style arches, adorned with carvings of apsaras and nagas, gleam under the tropical sun, their golden spires piercing the azure sky. The building's elegance masks a darker truth, a tale whispered in the shadows of its halls. The legend of a young woman's spirit forever bound to the mansion that once housed her family's dreams. This is the story of Lita, the daughter of Sovann Meas, a ghost whose cries have haunted the city since the 1930s. In 1935, Sovann Meas was a titan among men. His name echoed through the city's markets, temples, and rice fields, a symbol of wealth and power. A real estate magnate, he was rumored to own half the city, thousands of homes, bustling shophouses, and sprawling plantations. His mansion, a magnificent complex of 3 buildings, was the heart of his empire. The central structure, with its teakwood floors, lotus-carved columns, and roofs tiled in emerald and gold, was the Meas family home. Here, Sovann lived with his wife Chaya and their only child, 16-year-old Lita. Lita Meas was a jewel in her father's crown. Her beauty was matched only by her kindness, her laughter a melody that brightened the mansion's halls. She was often seen slipping through the gates to share rice with monks at the nearby Wat, or playing with children in the dusty lanes. Her dark eyes sparkled with dreams, of dancing at the royal palace, of sailing along the river, of a life filled with love and freedom. The city adored her, and Sovann, though stern, cherished his daughter above all else. But wealth and power could not shield the Meas family from fate. In 1936, a shadow crept over the city. A plague emerged, not of fever or famine, but of a disease that struck terror into every heart: leprosy. Its name was spoken in hushed tones, for in Khmer culture it was seen as a curse, a mark of divine displeasure. Temples filled with offerings to appease the spirits, and families hid their afflicted, fearing shame as much as the disease itself. Lita first noticed the signs in the quiet of her room: a faint patch of pale skin on her arm, numb to the touch. She hid it beneath her silk sampote, hoping it was a fleeting mark. But the patches spread and fear gripped her heart. She confided in her mother, Chaya, whose face paled with dread. When Sovann learned of his daughter's condition, his world shattered. Yet for a man like Sovann, pride was as vital as love. The Meas' name was untarnished, a beacon of respect. A daughter with leprosy would be a scandal, a stain that could topple his empire. Sovann made a choice that would haunt him forever. Lita would not be sent to a hospital or a distant leper colony. Instead, she would be confined to a small room on the mansion's uppermost floor, hidden from the world. To silence whispers, the family announced that Lita had succumbed to a mysterious fever. A grand funeral was staged. Monks chanted sutras, incense filled the air, and lotus flowers floated on the river as the city mourned. The Meas heiress was gone, or so the world believed. The room was a gilded cage. Its walls were draped in silk, its bed carved with lotus blossoms, but it was a prison nonetheless. A narrow slot at the door's base allowed servants to slide in trays of rice, prahok, and mangoes. A single window framed by jasmine vines offered a glimpse of the city. Children playing, monks in saffron robes, the river glittering under the sun. Lita pressed. Lita's only visitors were the shadows of her own thoughts and occasionally her mother. Chaya would come at night, whispering apologies through the door, her voice trembling with guilt. But even she could not defy Sovann's will. At first, Lita pleaded, her cries echoing through the mansion. She begged to see the sun, to feel the river's breeze. But Sovann, torn between love and shame, could not face her. He buried himself in his work, acquiring more land, building more wealth, as if gold could erase his daughter's suffering. The servants, sworn to secrecy, moved like ghosts, their eyes averted from the locked door on the 3rd floor. Weeks turned to months, and months to years. Lita's world shrank to the 4 walls of her room. The disease ravaged her body. Her fingers grew numb, her skin thickened. But it was the loneliness that broke her. She scratched poems into the floorboards with a hairpin, verses of longing for the river, for her friends, for a life she could barely remember. She sang Khmer lullabies, her voice growing hoarse, a fragile thread tying her to the world. At night, she pressed her face to the window, watching the moon and imagining it carried her soul to freedom. The mansion changed. The laughter that once filled its halls faded. Servants whispered of strange sounds, soft sobs drifting from the upper floor, the rustle of silk in empty corridors. A young maid, Sathi, swore she saw a shadow move behind Lita's door, though the key remained with Sovann. The cook, an old woman named Meas, burned incense to appease the spirits, muttering that the house was cursed. Sovann dismissed the rumors, but even he felt the weight. The mansion's golden walls seemed to dim, as if the sorrow within had seeped into the very stones. Lita's mind began to fray. She spoke to spirits she believed lingered in the room. Ancestors, gods, the Nikta of the river. She clawed at the walls until her nails splintered, desperate to feel something other than despair. Her poems grew darker, filled with images of fire and ash. She dreamed of escaping, of running to the river and letting its currents carry her away. But the door remained locked and the window was too high. In the city, life continued. Sovann's empire grew, but his heart withered. Chaya withdrew, her beauty fading as guilt consumed her. The servants, bound by loyalty and fear, kept their silence, though some began to slip away, unable to bear the mansion's gloom. A new figure entered the story, a young monk named Vanna, who had known Lita in her childhood. He had been a boy then, playing by the river with her, sharing mangoes and dreams. Now, ordained and wise beyond his years, he sensed a darkness in the Meas family. He visited the mansion, offering blessings, but his eyes lingered on the upper floor, as if he could feel Lita's presence. 3 years after her confinement, Lita's spirit broke. The loneliness, the pain, the betrayal, it was too much. One night, as a storm raged over the city, the mansion fell silent. The servants, huddled in their quarters, heard nothing. No sobs, no songs. The next morning, Sovann unlocked the door, his hands trembling. The room was empty. A single rope hung from the ceiling beam, swaying in the breeze from the open window. Lita's body lay below, her face peaceful at last, as if she had finally found freedom. But another tale, whispered in the city's markets and temples, told a darker story. They said Lita, consumed by rage, had doused herself in lamp oil and set herself ablaze. Servants smelled smoke but found no fire, only the rope in an empty room. Some claimed her spirit had burned away, leaving only ash and sorrow. The truth remained locked in the mansion, a secret known only to the walls. Sovann's world collapsed. He aged overnight, his hair turning white, his eyes hollow. Chaya retreated into silence, spending her days in the family shrine praying for forgiveness. The mansion was abandoned, its gates locked, its gardens overgrown. Sovann's empire crumbled as creditors and rivals sensed his weakness. By the 1940s, the Meas' name was a memory, a cautionary tale of pride and loss. Vanna, the young monk, returned to the city years later. He had heard the whispers of Lita's fate and felt a duty to her memory. He performed rituals by the river, offering rice and flowers to her spirit, praying she would find peace. But he knew the truth. Some wounds were too deep to heal even in death. Decades passed, and the mansion was reborn as a museum of art, a place to showcase Cambodia's treasures. Bronze Buddhas, silk weavings, paintings of Angkor's glory. Its halls filled with tourists and scholars, their voices echoing where Lita's cries once rang. But those who worked there knew the truth. The mansion was not at peace. Guards spoke of hearing sobs in the dead of night, always from the upper floor where Lita's room had been. Janitors saw a figure in a white ao dai, her face hidden, gliding through the corridors. One night, a curator named Shrey, a young woman with a poet's heart, stayed late to catalog a collection of Khmer manuscripts. As she worked, a chill settled over her. She heard a lullaby, faint and mournful, the same one her grandmother had sung. Heart pounding, she climbed the stairs to the third floor, drawn to a locked door no key could open. The air was heavy, as if the room held 1,000 unsaid words. Shrey returned the next night, bringing a notebook. She sat by the door, writing poems, hoping to reach the spirit within. She felt a presence, not malevolent but sorrowful, as if Lita longed to be heard. Shrey's poems, published years later, became a sensation, filled with images of locked rooms and river dreams. Some said they were Lita's words, channeled through Shrey's pen. The stories spread, drawing curious visitors and skeptics. A journalist, Kiri, investigated the legend, interviewing old servants and monks. He found Sathi, now an old woman who wept as she recalled Lita's cries. He spoke to Vanna, now an abbot, who shared his memories of the girl by the river. Kiri's article, published in a local paper, called Lita, the City's Forgotten Daughter, sparking debates about shame, family, and forgiveness. Some believed Lita's spirit sought her parents for reconciliation or retribution. Others thought she was bound by her poems, her soul restless until her words were free. A local monk invited to cleanse the museum said the air was thick with grief. He left offerings, incense, jasmine, a bowl of rice at the locked door, but the cries continued. Today, the museum remains a place of beauty and mystery. Visitors admire its sculptures and paintings, unaware of the tragedy woven into its walls. But the locals know. They speak of Lita Meas with pity and fear, a girl who was both victim and ghost. On quiet nights when the city hums with tuk-tuks and cicadas, some hear her voice, soft and plaintive, calling from the upper floor. The locked room remains sealed, its secrets untouched. No one knows what lies inside. Perhaps the rope, the poem scratched into the floor, or the ashes of a fire that never burned. But Lita's spirit endures. She wanders the halls, a reminder that even the grandest empires cannot escape their sins. Shrey, now an old woman, still visits the museum, leaving poems at the locked door. She believes Lita hears them, that her spirit finds solace in the words. Vanna, before his death, built a small shrine by the river where locals offer flowers for Lita's soul. Kiri's article inspired a play performed each year at the city's theater. keeping Lita's story alive. And so, the Daughter of Sovann Meas remains, her tale whispered across generations, a haunting melody in the city's heart. Her poems, her pain, her longing, they linger in the air, a testament to a girl who was locked away but never forgotten.